Yo, what's up internet? My name is Anthony and I want to do a quick announcement. I am out of town for the rest of this week, so this video is pre-recorded, so ignore everything if anything changes on the injury report or anything. Also, the first part of this video is just me more or less ranting about stuff that I've been saying the whole time. Anyway, enjoy the video. The biggest and most glaring hole is on the Raiders defense. There simply is no playmaker. There's nobody who can win the one-on-one battle, particularly up front. The corners are playing better, but pressure on the quarterback is non-existent. Jared Goff, Case Keenum, and Ryan Tannehill had all day to throw the ball. If only the Raiders had a player who could win the one-on-one battle and change the outcome of the game. When the opposing offense needs to go through the Raiders defense for a score, is there ever any doubt? We know the Raiders defense can't make a play and stop them. The Raiders miss Khalil Mack dearly. He would have single-handedly won at least one of the Raider games by now. However, it's not to say that there isn't a glaring weakness on the defense. Reggie Nelson needs to be replaced. In fact, he needed to be replaced a few years ago. He was a step slow when he got to Oakland. Now, he's about 3 steps too slow. If you look at a big play in the passing game, you can almost always see Reggie Nelson was supposed to be there, but just isn't fast enough. There's no reason he should be on the field over Carl Joseph, especially at this point. Reports are that Joseph hurt his leg, but if he's healthy, he should be on the field. Reggie Nelson has the leadership and brains, but he's just getting too old to play. After watching all these defensive collapses, there's one play that's been destroying the Raiders over and over. The jet sweep, particularly to the wide receivers. But let's not pretend the running backs are having a hard time either. It seems the Raiders just don't know how to seal the edge. It's a very basic concept, and it really starts with the defensive ends. They get beat and the edges get sealed. It happened week 1 against the Rams with Gurley, and it was the play the Dolphins used to get their second touchdown and seal the game. These are professional football players, and the Raiders must find a way to stop that one play. For all the talk about Derek Carr taking a step up as a quarterback with an offensive mind, I still haven't seen it. John Gruden is known for his ability to coach the quarterbacks, but that is nowhere to be seen so far. The best games he's played so far is week 2 against the Broncos. Even then, he's been a great game manager. He's not attacking the defense and taking shots down the field. In fact, he's been the opposite at his worst. He literally tossed interceptions that cost the Raiders a chance to score or break open the game. The interceptions have been woefully underthrown balls. We've seen the best that Derek Carr has had, and so far, all we've seen is bad and solid game manager. Also, there's been all this talk about Amari Cooper being the center of the offense. He's had his share drop so far, and that certainly shouldn't happen. However, my biggest complaint is how little he's been involved. Cooper needs to get in the flow of the game. It's much easier to catch the ball in the 4th quarter when you've been catching the ball for the first 3. Remember in his second year when he went off, he had a few wide receiver screens that he just broke open. Why don't we do some of those, or even some quick slants? Gruden is supposed to be a mastermind. Scheme the ball into his hands. He's far too talented to be this silent, especially early in the game. Arguably, the biggest problem for the offense seems to be the red zone. It seems the Raiders are very close to breaking the game open to be a 2-possession game. Every time the Raiders just aren't able to punch it into the red zone. The worst part is, Derek Carr makes game-changing red zone interceptions. It almost seems to completely change the momentum of the game. There are risks, and at some point he has to make them. But he's been having bad throws on early downs. Against the Dolphins, it was on first down with the offense rolling. The Raiders are able to run the ball extremely well. Better decisions must be made in the red zone, whether it be play calls or throws by Derek Carr. The biggest difference in this team is from the first half, maybe even the first 3 quarters, and the last one. In fact, the Raiders have only scored 3 points in the 4th quarter so far. This team can't close. The Raiders had arguably one of the best defensive closers in football and stupidly traded him away. The team's inability to finish falls back on the coach. He doesn't have this team ready to finish off the game. His game plans clearly work in the beginning, only to fail once the team has adjusted. Personally, I think John Gruden needs to hold back some of the game plan until later. The Raiders know how to exploit the defense and seem to pull out all the stops in the first half, leaving nothing as the game wears on. The Dolphins are a perfect example, when they didn't run the jet sweep for Grant for touchdowns until the moment called for it late in the game. Along with what's going on the field, the organization is a mess. John Gruden has his own scouting department that overrides the GM. Reggie McKenzie will likely be gone after this season. Mark Davis had such tunnel vision with Gruden that he basically paid him like the greatest coach in NFL history. Tell me one quarterback Gruden has developed. Tell me one great player that Gruden has drafted. I said since the beginning, I like Gruden the coach, but he has all the power with his big contract. Imagine if Gruden went to the Bucs and traded away Warren Sapp before a game. Say what you wanted about Reggie McKenzie's drafting, but he didn't make mind-blowing trades and always managed the cap to prepare for good players. Now, I have no idea what the Raiders' big plans are and the direction of a team that's so good and bright just a few years ago. As for the next game, the Raiders better beat the Browns. Baker Mayfield is a rookie and making his first career start. The Browns' defense is no joke, but the Raiders are playing at home. Myles Garrett and Denzel Ward seem like the real deal and can wreck a game plan. At the same time, Paul Guenther and the veteran Raiders defense need to fuse Baker Mayfield early. The Browns team lit up with renewed energy, and the Raiders must jump out to a lead. That certainly doesn't seem to be a problem, but the Raiders have to close. For the prediction, I'm going 24-20 Raiders. This team is too close to not finish a game against the Browns. This team has too much pride to fall apart again in the fourth quarter. A loss to the Browns at home would be even more embarrassing than the collapses so far. John Gruden will have this team fired up and prepared. This team plays with pride in front of the home crowd and says, hell no, we aren't losing again.